Anyway, so Donald Lawrence, who's been in the music industry for some 20 years, active in the gospel music scene and others in some 20 years, very comfortable, have to say, with the inspirational and contemporary genres, music arenas. And I have to say, Donald, we got something in common. We were both born in the 60s.
Yes, uh-huh.
I was born in the late 60s and you were born in the early 60s. So there you
Actually
go.
older. Yeah, I'm older.
Yes, you're a little bit older than me. Yeah, absolutely. But it's great, actually. The 60s, interesting decade, I think. Anyways, now I have to say, I mean, obviously, you describe yourself on your website and on Wikipedia, describe yourself as the man who wears many musical colors.
Yes.
I can see that in your background, actually. So,
I say I cross genres and borders
yeah.
with many
Yeah, absolutely.
things.
From songwriting, producing, composing, music, choir director, influences, force behind a fair few number one hits. Encourage Yourself, Back to Eden, and Blessing of Abraham. I love that song, by the way. It's a great
Thank
song.
you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Grammy and Stellar Award winner. And, well, I have to say, I don't want to do name dropping, but I've noticed that you've worked with some amazing people as well. God bless you, working with Kirk Franklin
Yes.
on Vogue, Mary J. Blige.
Yeah.
No.
Brother song.
Oh yeah. Anyway, so 20 years and counting.
Yeah.
Firstly,
Actually, 30 years counting.
30 years and counting. Absolutely. So yeah, well, yeah, 20 plus years, 30 years and counting. The reason I got 20 years because it says on your website 20 plus years
Okay,
celebration. So yeah, very good. That's fantastic. Anyways, now firstly, I have to ask you this question, okay? Because my podcast, I also do like to do gadgets. So if there's one gadget that actually has revolutionized in the last 30 years your life, what would it be?
In the last 30 years?
Or 20 years or whatever, yeah.
I would say cell phone. Absolutely, cell phone.
The smartphone, huh?
Yeah, the smartphone would be it for me.
And could you live without it?
No, because I mean, I can interview well and I know how to do people well, but I'm really an introvert. So the fact that I can text someone and don't have to pick up the phone and talk is just bliss for a person like me.
I can absolutely identify with that. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sure like after your gigs and your concerts, you just want to escape and just be.
Oh yeah. I'm good with interacting with people because introverts are not shy.
That's true.
We just exhaust
Absolutely.
after a while.
Absolutely. No, I can relate to that because absolutely. Very good. So I have to say, firstly, what did you do before you got into the music scene? What were some of the things that you kind of were involved in? Let's find out a little bit about yourself.
I've always been in music since I was a child. It was never another option for me to do anything else. So I started very young, showing signs of music probably as early as 5 or 6. By the time I was probably 10 or 11 or 12, I could direct and teach vocals to the adult choir. So my ear developed really, really, really young. And so I've never, ever had any plan to do anything else other than music. It's always been that. It evolved a little bit into music and theater. That showed up a little bit later. But for the most part, music has just been my life. I think it's just a part of my DNA. And I didn't have an option. It was what I was meant to do.
So would you say it's very much part of your destiny, part of your DNA, and part of what God has called you to?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we're all called to do something. Some of us wake up to it sooner than others, and some people never wake up to it. But I was very clear, very young.
Yeah, very good. Wow, very good. I have to ask you as well, some of the early influence that paved the way for where you are today and what you've been through.
I would say the early influence for me would be Andre Crouch. Andre was a mentor. We were great friends. We even co-wrote one of my signature songs together, "Bless Me Indeed," the prayer of Jabez. That was co-written by myself and Andre Crouch. He was a good mentor. Definitely, I studied him a lot. He's one that I would say in this particular genre that definitely had big influence on me and my style. But there are people in other genres, like in musical theater. I studied Stephen Sondheim a lot, and in pop music, I studied Luther Vandross a lot. But Andre was not only a great friend, a mentor, someone I talked to, and he definitely had a huge influence on my approach to gospel
Wow.
music.
Wow, very good. Yeah, very good. What about any scriptures or Bible verses that you've held on to this last 20 years, which you would say?
Well, I hang on to word in general. I tend to write a lot from scripture, finding ways to take scripture and making it more life applicable. So there are plenty of scriptures I could tell you, sometimes just based on the season of life that I was in. But one scripture that I do love, and I pinned a song around it. It says, "There remaineth the rest for the people of God." I love that scripture because I was able to define rest different than the way people think it is. Most people see of rest as taking a break or a vacation. Mine is to find comfort and solace in knowing that anything that is meant for me, God had already planned it way before I got here. And I should rest in the thought of that. I should relax knowing that in the end, I'm going to win because God wrote the end of my story before the beginning of my story. And he wrote my ending for me to always win. That's a rest. That means you just relax and you don't worry. So I love that scripture. That's just one of many.
Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful, and I can relate to that because somebody who went through medical kind of cancer kind of treatment a couple of years ago. God talked to me about rest, and it's just exactly what you said: is knowing that God is in control.
Knowing that's a peace of mind. Actually, I have a phrase where I say, God says, if you rest in me, you will see the rest of me.
Yeah,
Relax
absolutely.
and be blessed.
Yeah, and actually, with the great scripture in the Psalm 23 talks about with rest comes refreshing, which
Absolutely.
is yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
Because you're not stressed.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's important for people to see that we go through life, and life, how life shapes us. And so often, isn't it, that actually in life today, people growing up, we want instant success because that's the culture that we live in. And being faithful to where we are now is so important. And we've obviously seen that from for you being faithful to your call in the music industry. But if you could go back to your younger self, say at as a teenager, what would you say to yourself, and would you listen to yourself?
If I was to go back to my younger self, I would tell my younger self to give me a break. I've always been very, very tough on myself. I've always been kind of an overachiever. I never wanted to walk in the room to be the least knowledgeable in the room. So it makes you kind of overthink things. I'm really bad at overthinking, and it's not good for you. I overthink a lot. So I would tell my younger self, just relax and be a kid. Stop really, stressing yourself to always be on this, give yourself some room, give yourself a little margin of error, because we all do it. You learn from your wins and you learn from your losses. So I think my younger self, I would just give it a little bit more room to just be and know that God's got it all in control.
I like that. That's brilliant. What is important to you in life today, and what makes all the difference? Just thinking like things that are ahead of you. Maybe you want to make a difference, and clearly want to make a difference in other people's lives, particularly with an event that's coming up, music and arts gathering. Um, Obviously, I can see that speaks into that. Um, Wanting to speak into people's lives. Can you tell us more about what you expect from that, and what difference you hope that this music and arts gathering will make?
Music and arts gathering is to inspire the next generation of choir creatives. It's all things choir, and I wanted to inspire the next generation of all things choir. I feel that we become to help others become. That's always been a passion of mine, a heart of mine, and I enjoy watching people soar. I enjoy watching, speaking into people and placing a demand on their potential. Sometimes you can bump into young talent, and it's just there as a small seed. but by faith, you can speak into the seed that's in them and place what I say a demand on it. And that demand is that you show up and you become all that God has called you to be. I think He gives us platforms to do that. So, music and arts is about speaking into the potential of all the choir masters, the choir singers, the choir, speaking into you, telling you where you are now is great, but there's so much more that you can do. I hope that I can inspire you to do that. Not only just you, but those that are coming behind you and behind you and behind you, that we keep on inspiring the generations, because we can't do this alone. When we come together, unity, there's always great strength. So I think that's what Music and Arts Global is about. It's about inspiring the next generation of choir creators, but also creating this global movement of choir.
Very good. So, what can people expect when they actually attend this conference?
Yeah,
Sorry, this gathering. It's not
yeah,
a gathering. What can people
yeah.
expect, and what will your role be, and what will you? Yeah.
Well, they can expect to learn choir techniques, learn blend techniques, to experience me talking about new technology that would help boost the sound of your choir. One of my friends, an engineer of mine, he's coming with a new technology that he created called Venue Flex that really helps boost the sound of the choir without the feedback. So he's going to introduce that. We're going to talk about songwriting, the stories behind the songs. We're going to get testimonies about how choirs have helped individuals. There's a group coming from Spain who, because of the culture of Spain, they've never been in a setting like this to where they could just freely worship. From a
Mm.
Christian perspective, it's going to be brand new for them. They've never seen it. And I never thought of anything like that before, that it would be a new experience to just walk into a room where everybody just freely worships from a Christian perspective. So they're excited about that, but it's a different moment for them because they've never seen it before. So it's all of those things that's happening at Music and Arts Global. And we end with a big concert, and that concert will be all of the attendees in the choir sessions coming together on one stage, singing with me, singing my songs, singing some of my guest songs, and us all just singing together. And that's the one thing I wanted to do. As a gospel artist from America, we're used to coming to Europe and singing to Europe, but I wanted to create something where we all sang together, and that's what you will expect from Music and Arts.
I think that sounds absolutely a wonderful experience, and so it's happening on the 27th to 29th of April. I'll put the website down there, musicandartsglobal.com. Is there a
Yes,
cost involved apart from, of
there.
course, traveling to get there?
Oh yeah, there's cost involved. All that information is definitely on the website. If they go to musicandartsglobal.com, you can register. There are a couple of free events, but there are also some events that has a ticket price to them.
I think that sounds like a wonderful experience, and I'd love to get there myself if I can get across to London
Okay.
in end of the month if I can. It sounds absolutely fantastic. So I don't miss it. All the details, musicandartsglobal.com, 27th to 29th of April this month. Now, let's get back to growing up in the 70s and 80s as a teen. It seems, I don't know about you, but it seems today, as kind of I've done a lot of reflecting on this, that like parents of say of our generation as parents, if they don't know God, then it's like they put God into a box and that's just their thing. And there's a whole host of kids these days from parents that have almost a hungry to know something of the truth about God. And it was almost like kids are left wanting for more. So I don't know. Would you agree with that? Perhaps today there's a call for young adults and a younger generation to know God in a deeper way that perhaps where parents have missed out on.
Um, I tend to think that people haven't made God as much of a priority
Mm.
in their lives as they did when I was growing up younger. But it could be the different in cultures from America based on where you are. I think that
I
they
think
should
that's
focus.
similar.
Okay, I think that they should focus more on it. I think it grounded us a little bit in as much as I didn't get to play the same as every other kid did. I was in church all the time. I'm a church kid, so we had to go to church all the time. There wasn't even an option whether we would go or not. We had to. So we complained about it a little bit then, but now I love the discipline that it gave me. I love the how grounded it made me. How it made me respect my elders, how it made me to treat people. I think we've missed that a lot. I think that as the generations moved on, kids raised kids, and they didn't raise kids with the same discipline that those of us who were born in the 60s and the 70s, and even some in the 80s got. It's just gotten really, really, really volatile out here. So I think it would be more about getting back to basic principles and just basic love, not even religion, just love, just respecting your neighbor and
Absolutely.
loving your neighbor as yourself.
And making a difference in that.
Well, that would make a difference
So
to me.
far, absolutely, absolutely.
Love
Well,
always makes a difference.
we're running out of time now. I want to get to listen. If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify, the song "Rewritten" I think really speaks into that. It's like
Oh, I love that song.
God rewrites our song.
I love
Can you
that
just
song.
is that one of your favorite songs? Would you say for this
I,
time?
I ain't gonna say it's one of my favorite songs. I probably have so many, but I just like the message because you have to get to a certain place to where you say to you, you have to get to a certain place to where you allow yourself to be a canvas that can be changed. So there's a line in it where it says, I'm available to you. What it says, Lord, you can write my story again. I'm available. Well, the line goes like this. It says, I'm available for change. God, write my story again. Okay, so I think when you can really make yourself available for God to mold you and shape you, and you don't resist the change, that I think will walk you into some of the greatest blessings of your life.
And I think absolutely, and I think that's a real song that could be proclaimed to this next up and coming generation.
Yes.
And another song, "The Best Is Yet to Come."
The best is yet to come. Well, the scripture says your latter will be greater. So
Amen.
that's really what that's based around, reminding everybody that, because I know some people, when you get older, you feel like if you haven't accomplished your dream by a certain time, that it's not going to happen. But the scripture says it differently. It says the latter will be greater. So I tell people that it gets greater later. And also, I remind people that God gave us faith to override time. Faith steps over top of time. So if you're really a person of faith, God can do something in your latter years that will get you somewhere faster than it took somebody 30 years to get there. So never make time above faith. God gave us faith to override time.
I think that's absolutely amazing advice. Well, Donald, thank you so much for your time. I think time is pretty much against us, and we probably have to move on. Certainly, the director in the corner on the screen is waving at me in his camera. But it's been, Donald, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you. And I think, don't forget, musicandartsglobal.com. That sounds like an amazing opportunity for
Yeah,
choirs, solo artists,
everybody.
gospel singers, everybody, even those maybe who aren't singers, but just want to come and experience
Yeah,
perhaps.
they will be inspired. I have people coming from Ireland, from Sweden, from Switzerland, from Denmark, from Spain, from Italy, from Latvia. We're all coming together, from America, all around the UK. We're all coming together and just celebrating this music, but also showing love to each other.
That's absolutely wonderful. It'd be an opportunity as well to make new friends as well
Make you
as just
free.
for internationally and globally. I think that sounds absolutely wonderful. And you can also discover more at musicalartsglobal.com, also your own website, donaldlawrence.com as well. And
Right.
and yeah, for sure, for all of us, the best is yet to come. Thank you so much, Donald, for joining us. And I would just pray a blessing on you. And yes, and we look forward to tracking with you and seeing what's happening in the
All
coming
right. God bless
months.
you.
Yeah, God bless you. Thank you.